Hey everyone, and welcome to the Best of 3 Call of Duty Esports podcast. I'm your host Josh. SalvationsElite to my right is Bash_Bo3 Sam, and to our farthest right, per usual, is none other than the Rex Shady Nero. And boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot to talk about today. Obviously, we still got to talk about some of the Rostermania news that's slowly coming out here. We got to talk maybe a little bit of Vanguard. We're talking some spicy Envoy OpTic talk, and we are doing the Rostermania draft. If there was a draft for Rostermania, what would that thing look like? And we're going to show you exactly what that would look like today. Ooh. So without further ado, guys, I got to ask, boys, what's going on?
Well, Josh, I am feeling like a chupacabra.
Oh,
prowling around the streets of Puerto Rico. And all of a sudden I spot across this field, I'm like, is that a churro? At my gas station, it's a churro. I go sprinting over my skinny body and I'm like, give me my churro. And I take it and I bite it and I start digging a hole into it with my tongue. I'm like, what's this? That is not the succulent, delicious blood of a goat. What is going on here? I've been duped by the system. I've decided, you know what? I'm taking revenge. I decide to head to the local farmer's field and eat his goat because a chupacabra's got to survive too.
Wow.
I get my own. I will survive.
My word. Oh, baby. Jeez.
That's what
he's ready to go today. Let's go, baby. Sam, how you doing?
Wow. We're doing good. I think what we need is like a comparison of Rex, like the first episode, and then now. How crazy
we're
has it
near
gotten?
an episode 100. We're like, what, 8 away? Like 2 months out of episode 100? So what we really need is a 100 episode compilation of Rex intros.
I also have to give a shout out to the Chupacabra recommendation. I've been tweeting out, and I think I'm going to keep doing it a thing. The most liked recommendation, whether it's like a word or a topic, will make it into the opening segment.
The intro.
So, you know, tweet
and that was
at me.
Chupacabra this time?
It was Chupacabra by Vapors.
That's quality right there.
Check them out.
I'm also in fast mode today. You can't tell by my hair. It's like if I just ran like 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
See that?
Dude, you're the Flash.
Let's go, baby. Cool. Things we love to see. Well, chat, we got our folks out there. We got a lot to talk about today, obviously. And, you know, you can follow us on Twitter, on YouTube, on an Apple Podcasts. And you can drop a comment down below on YouTube. You can drop a review on Apple Podcasts. You can drop a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. And a comment down below, of course, on YouTube. But Sam, do you have a review for us today? Is there something in there?
I do, actually. Here we go.
Okay.
This is from J. Willie the Thrilly. Just
J.
right there.
Willie.
Man.
Ooh,
wow.
Willie the Thrilly.
So I could be stupid, but so like the title is this.
You could be.
I feel like a 32-year-old bald man who love, but it's a cut off. Like it's like ... I think, but like I can't like expand it. So I think he hit the max.
So you're a little worried.
Limit. So I don't know. So we'll see. Here's the message though. I love listening to the Best of 3. Love the boys and keep up the great content. Also, this is the only COD podcast I can listen to with my kids in the car because you don't consistently drop F-bombs.
That is facts. Let's go, baby.
Sorry.
We are family-friendly content out here.
I know Rex has gotten close a couple of times.
If it's ever happened, it's probably me. But I'm bringing it in. I think I try my best.
It's like, it happens once in a while, but you know, we try to keep it reeled in here.
So yeah, thank you, J. Willie the Thrilly.
I mean, hopefully those are the next scumps in the car there, baby. Let's go.
Absolutely.
Things you love to see, man.
Shout out to the kids.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for the 5-star review. We appreciate that. But
I love that. It's great.
Today, we actually do have a quick question, though. And today's quick question is, who is the best team of 4 that comes to mind for you that never won, that didn't win COD Champs? Oh. That did not win COD Champs. Is there a team that immediately comes to mind? I think most people would probably say the OpTic Bo3 team would probably be the team that like is the mainstay there. Maybe AW, OpTic for a lot of fans out there, but maybe throw out some other ones that maybe come to mind or thoughts that you might have there.
I mean, there's a debate on like how much better are pros now than they were. So like you'd be like Ultra, like if Ultra of now were to play in these older generations.
Oh, you're saying like talent-wise. Interesting.
Like they're just better. Like they would have won champs, even though they haven't won champs yet. They would have won in previous eras. So I guess like recency, you could think of something like that.
I would like to throw out the World War II Rise team.
Ooh.
I had some high hopes for that team. I mean, they were on a dominant. They were
on a dominant tear.
Them and TK, I think, were like the two dominant teams going into the champs.
For sure.
Obviously,
TK is the one who didn't win either. I would almost consider them. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
No. I was gonna say like them and TK were like super dominant. TK obviously didn't win either. So like you're right, you could say TK, but I feel like Rise with like especially how disciplined that team was. Like they were really, really good at that game. TJ was phenomenal at that game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we've seen TJ quite in that form since World War II, but I think that's a solid option there for a team that never won champs.
Yeah, I like that fair. TK option too, because they were like, they should have won champs. Like that should have been the team to do it. But then, Evil Geniuses came out of left field and won it. But TK, should have won it based on their whole season.
That's actually really interesting.
Yeah, I bet if they had Sheen, they would have won.
Oh yeah, man.
Because they dropped Sheen after winning a tournament.
Well, what was it? FG42 got GA'd?
I think so.
I know. So the one, this whole idea kind of came from a Reddit post from this week. And I was like, that was a good Reddit post. I wanted to kind of talk about it on the pod. And their most common answer outside of like OpTic teams was the Clayster attach enabled Zuma team from IW. That was like just the whole phase squad there with that team was really, really good, which they definitely were really, really good. Definitely. I mean, they got, top 2 or 3 at a lot of events that year. So that would definitely be up there for me as well. But I think the Reddit post was a little bit different because it was like a roster of 4 that never won a champs, like, which means the OpTic team did win a champs, therefore they're eliminated.
Yeah.
So
I mean, maybe this might be a stretch. United at points in time, maybe.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I can
and
see
maybe
that.
Infinite. I mean, they won Atlanta,
like the IW team. You mean? But
yeah,
they were really, really good for a time there. Obviously, when they had Gunless for the hot minute before that all fell apart. But those are some really, really solid ones for sure. I mean. There's probably a few other teams in the AW time that were dominant for a period that you could probably throw in there. I like those answers a lot. So
good question.
Without further ado, I think we can get into the news of the week.
The Call of Duty news of the week.
Who's here? News here. Come get the news.
Well, you're back at it again.
Aqua. Is he retiring?
Yeah, that's kind of man.
If you take a look at his Twitter, he's a former professional Call of Duty player now in his Twitter bio. Thoughts, concerns?
Dang.
Bait?
I mean, it was only there for a little while, so like.
Yeah, if it's not bait, that stinks.
It's probably bait, but it also could just be like he was in a down bad state and like he was just like, screw it. Well,
I assume like they kicked the whole Paris roster, so like technically, he's not a pro, so he's gonna be in the AM scene, but like, some AMs they still call themselves pro when they're not in the pro league. So like there's like maybe that's kind of the reason he put it. To be cheeky, I guess.
And like he explicitly come out and say he's not playing in challengers either.
Ooh, did he?
Yeah, he was.
I think
he
a while
didn't
ago.
really want to, at least. Was kind of where he was at with it. So
yeah, maybe
I could
his mind.
definitely see that.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a player that should. I mean, he was.
I
think
he's
enough.
pretty talented. Honestly, I legit think he's good enough to be a COD pro for sure.
I agree.
He was probably the brightest spot on that Paris roster, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, especially at the beginning of the season, he was really good in those first like 2 stages or so. Maybe if you piece him with the right squad, he could be right there in a winning team. And we've seen him, in some really good squads the past few years for sure.
Yeah. I mean, next news. Oh,
well,
sorry.
I wanted to say like, what type of team do you think would make sense for him? Like, do you think it's possible he can get on a team still at this point? What would that look like for him? Does he go back to Paris as an NRG? Like, does he sound as a sub?
I think he could. I mean, I think he could end up on Paris or NRG. I think he is good enough, and he showed that he was good enough to really play with the big boys and be a problem on the map. So I think a team would not like that would be a good idea, I think, to pick him up.
I mean, honestly, like he could have filled Accuracy's alleged spot.
Alleged Seattle spot.
Yeah.
Right.
You pair 3 AMs around him. I feel like he could definitely thrive in that atmosphere. So maybe Paris does that. Maybe Paris builds around Aqua and you pick up 3 really talented AMs and you make a run out of it. So I don't know.
For sure. The last time I was trying to make sure, I was like, am I dumb? The last time he was there. Yeah. So CWL Fort Worth was the last time he was in a grand final, obviously, with that Jared Accuracy, Looney, Aqua Temp squad on Splice. They got 3rd at that CWL Las Vegas event. And, obviously World War II is kind of tough for him when he was on like Echo Fox and stuff.
Yeah.
But, so I don't know. I personally think that Aqua can still be a competitive COD pro for sure. Like a guy that is elite enough to be in the pro scene throughout a whole season and can still be in a really, really good squad. I mean, there was just a lot of problems, obviously, that Paris had. And that roster was in a tough spot from the beginning of the year. So
yeah,
I'm with
I
you
really
there.
hope these guys too, like, when you talk about guys like Zed, Aqua, those kind of guys, I hope if they are taking a break this year, if there's no expansion teams, that they do try to make a comeback when expansion teams do come, because there is definitely room for those guys. When I saw Zed retire, I was like, man, I feel like
there's
has
no
so much
way the
left in
dude should
him.
retire. I mean, the guy's great,
He's really good. So obviously that is a barrier where there is only 48 spots right now, starting spots. So hopefully, considering Aqua, if he doesn't get on the starting spot this year, when we do see expansion teams, we do see those kind of guys be able to come back into the league and then maybe build around them, throw a couple younger guys with them, and then see what happens. So
can you imagine being like one of those like fringe good players like Zed and Aqua, and like you made it, but then just not quite, and like you were good and you were beneficial for your team, and like you did everything right, but somehow you end up retiring the next year when you were probably the brightest spot on your respective teams.
Well, especially I can't speak. Especially Zed, like the dude.
Yeah.
Didn't do anything wrong. He
was like either on the precipice, like they were right there. They're just literally cementing themselves.
He didn't even get the full shot either. It was like here's your shot. Oh, never mind.
The thing is, it wasn't even a squandered shot. Like it was a good shot.
It was a great shot.
Exactly.
And they benched him.
Right.
I mean, that's
the thing with Aqua too, is I don't feel like he's getting he's not like out there losing the gunfights,
no,
he's winning the gunfights when he has them in front of him. It's just, there was a lot of team problems there with Aqua and the Paris squad.
I mean, when are we ever going to see a turnaround with these bad teams? Because right now it's like there's a bad team, you nuke it, and then you reset with a whole new squad. At what point do you're like, okay, we need to you need to start building something, right?
Yeah, you just mean like keeping that core player, even if it may not work that season.
I suppose you got to
trusting it. Like there has to be a trust, I feel like, to the process. It's too much of an immediate thing. It's like
I feel like they have to see have to see stats. Like obviously Aqua had fair stats. I feel like he was very consistent, but you think of like London, they're going to keep Afro because they saw some really good stats and they can build around him
for sure.
I think that has to be part of it. Like when you from the outside view see 4 average guys, then you're probably going to nuke it.
It's also tough for ARs as well, since Aqua's an AR, and like there's just so many options. That's what gets tough too.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I could see. I mean, if you're the challengers guys and like guys like Aqua, I mean, like, man, trying to figure out and learn to become a flex player and like really working on it. I mean, it's not the worst option ever. Like,
I mean, it would be so tough. Like, because you're. Like just because you're going in, like there's no trust in the organization you're working for. At least like if you can build some sense of stability for at least one of these players, like you build your roster as you go. Like you started out at the bottom, you found one good player, just keep him and keep building. And maybe they will. I guess we don't know yet, but it seems like they won't. But it's just weird. It's like take your one. That's what you won this year. You got your player. Contract him again and go next year. Maybe you find another one or 2 or 3. And try and just keep building in that way. Like, one part is working.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like tough for an org, from the org's perspective. It's like, do we go with Aqua still? Or do we take our chance on like, Mohawk or Harry or Bids or, someone who hasn't been in there and roll the dice with one of those guys and then and
Yeah,
hope.
but
It's
you
like,
can
what's
roll the
worst case
dice on
scenario
just
is we're bad
4
again.
people.
Like, it is
just
a tough spot.
roll the dice.
Yeah.
You know, you can keep Aqua. roll the dice on
for
3
sure.
people.
You can keep exactly. That's a very fair option. Like, and I think teams should probably consider that for sure. So I like that a lot.
So Rise Nation on the podcast, Bussin' with the boys.
Will Compton, go Big Red. No free shout outs. Let's go, baby.
It's like a
That's
football,
great.
American football
Bussin'
podcast.
with the boys.
Dude, now
and
that
he
podcast is so good.
and they started talking about Call of Duty League and all that. And Rise said that they really want to get into it, and they're still looking to become one of the expansion teams that happens. Probably sounds like it's not going to be this year, but next year, if they can, they will.
Right. And if you're wondering why they're talking about that on a NFL podcast, it's because Roger Saffold, who's the owner of Rise, is a current NFL player. So
For the Tennessee Titans.
yeah, and the Buzzing with the Boys is 2 Titans players podcast. So
That's awesome.
yeah, exactly. And so it was pretty cool. I mean, he was like, he kind of talked about it, like they're still very much trying to get into the CDL right now. So we'll see, man. I mean, they definitely are an option to potentially buy that Chicago spot, but there is so much variability there with what could happen still at this point.
Yeah, and Rise needs to get in just because on like them even being public about and talking about it on the podcast, you can tell he cares.
For sure.
And he
sure.
does follow the own league that he's trying to get into,
Definitely. Yeah.
which I think is more you
wanna
can say
see
about some of these other owners.
Right.
It'd be
think
cool
that's
if
the
like
thing.
Rise and E United like combine into one, like
A co-bid.
two mid-tier orgs.
That
like,
could kind of work.
you know what I mean? Kind of like they both have, roots in Call of Duty, and then they buy
Be
one
the
spot.
the people's team.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. It's hard because it's like, would you rather have an org like Rise or United who have roots in Call of Duty join the league, or would you rather have like a TSM join, like in terms of like bringing eyes into the league,
Right.
Or
Maybe with a
like-
big budget too, potentially.
exactly.
I think there's a balance that has to be struck. I think
For
it's
sure.
good to have these big brand names who can bring in their like other views from other places, but
Right.
having some of these like, I guess like staple, like fan favorite, like staples of the scene, like E United and Rise, it adds a level of like, I feel like depth for fans as they go along. It's like, these are sort of
Yeah,
always
for
going to
sure.
be the underdog guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you though, but like at the same time, I think it'd probably be better off having like a TSM just because. I mean, you're trying to bring in the new eyes.
At
You're
this
trying
point in the
to.
league.
But I mean, that's superficial, but like the depth of it is like United and Rise, they actually care about
well,
the
that would
COD
be the
League
case is,
and
you
are
know,
very concerned with it and pay attention to it more than probably TSM and them do.
I mean, that's true. Like, I mean, obviously, Luminosity you'd think would be going all in for these rosters and trying to make it happen, but obviously LG and Seattle Surge haven't necessarily been that great. So it's like
Mhm.
that is a tough kind of balance there. I don't know. I would still lean TSM just for the sake of having the bigger organization, but I don't really know exactly what their money tendencies are, like how that would look like for them in the CDL potentially. I mean, would you rather have like a really rich owner who's willing to throw the bag at good rosters and trying to build teams money wise? Like, let's say they're LAG,
yeah.
but like, they're throwing from the beginning, they're throwing cash at players to try to build good teams. I mean,
I think it's good. I think it's good. An ideal world is if like they're super rich and they also really care about what's happening
Right. I mean,
and
in
really
an
are
ideal world,
involved with it.
they're bringing it all.
Perfect world.
And they understand the culture of COD.
Definitely.
But I don't know. For me, I think you try and strike a balance.
Yeah. I guess at this stage of the league where it's kind of like, COVID just hit, and I think it's still growing, obviously, with the numbers and stuff like
For sure.
that. But
And like, there's still opportunity, but
yeah, no, like it would be great, to have like a Cloud9, to have a TSM, to have a Sentinels even now, because they're
for sure. Any of those
huge in
big
Valorant.
esports orgs.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. But at the same time, I don't know how much of like cross pollination is like super successful between like, say like a,
Like a
Yeah.
PC FPS or like even like a League of Legends.
Exactly.
Like how many League of
Yeah.
Legends viewers are really coming over to watch COD? Not very
Mhm.
many.
part no.
I think
So-
Sentinels honestly might be the best one to bring over. If I
Really?
had the number one pick, Sentinels might be the one. I think their branding is really good. I think they have always really great teams.
Mhm.
I think they would be a really good team to have in the league.
Well, they hit the jackpot when they bought The old OpTic Halo. Like those 4 guys were like everyone loved them. It's like, well, that was because like now people
and then if they joined
into
COD, then
Sentinels.
suddenly now they got that OpTic Halo team, and then they've got a COD team. I mean, that'd be a pretty cool, like,
Yeah.
and
They
that'd
know
be a
their
pretty
stuff.
cool announcement. Yeah.
They're a team that
and
knows
right
their
now
stuff.
they're like dominant in Valorant too. So it's like that would be a pretty.
Oh,
pretty
really?
big
Yes.
name.
That would be really,
Yeah.
really good then. I mean, yeah, that's really cool then, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I like that one a lot, man.
Are leaks bad for the COD scene? I think Clayster tweeted something out that he deleted, so I can't read it anymore, but I think we've seen Clayster. Oh, no, here it is. ASIM says, leaks have actually killed all COD announcements. Tragic. Clayster, the real question is, who is the AM getting paid $100 a roster to leak them all? And then he goes on to say more. But essentially, people are quasi upset with the leaks. Pros, mainly.
Right, Octane tweeted that, then he deleted it basically immediately after he was getting roasted by people. And
he got
he was getting roasted.
blamed.
I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Like, obviously, from our perspective, we're like, hell yeah, like, let's get some more leaks, baby. Like, let's go. Please tell us these rosters.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm down to just continually theorize on rosters for the next, for another 2 months, if that.
I
would be
mean,
the case,
it would be
but-
better if we could keep, probably theorizing, but it needs to be something that it can be a hot topic that people can try to research, because it is nice to get little snippets of like things that like Envoy.
Right. Like if it would like slowly come out, that'd be kind of nice.
Yeah, but it's always like, boom, here's like 10 rosters. It's
Here's
like,
the whole
wow,
roster. Yeah.
We're literally like a week after champs and like we know the roster for every team.
Yeah,
and then it ends up just happening, which is like, you know, credit to the journalists, CDL Intel, all that. It's really the onus is on the players and all that to figure out what they're doing.
No, I was just gonna say like
People are gonna dig. You can't. You just have to let it so they don't know.
You're never gonna stop people like wanting to like try to find out. So I think the question comes into like they're saying, who is like the person actually like leaking them? Like, is it just the players themselves getting either pissed or they're just being careless? So, on one hand you can say the journalists shouldn't be doing this, but on the other hand, it's like it's the information's there. Like
it's their job to do it.
It's their job to do it.
Like, how about you make sure it don't get leaked then?
I know. So yeah, I've got like, I just don't think you can ever stop journalists. And again, it's not their fault that they can get the info. So, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like what's the alternative, like.
No, like the onus is on the players and the orgs and everybody attached to that. The onus is on them.
Mm-hmm.
The only org who was ever able to successfully do any of this, like keep it silent stuff, was OpTic for at least a little while back in the day.
Paris.
You never know what they're doing, so that's fair.
You never know what Paris is doing.
They don't know what they're doing. So this is the ultimate big brain strategy.
There's nothing to leak.
There's nothing to leak, They keep everybody in the dark, including themselves. But so it's like, what's the alternative? There's no news. Like, there's just no way that's ever going to happen. Because you're going to have a tweet from one person or like a text from one person. It's like, yo, I heard Clay said he's going to LAT. Like, bro, like, let's team together then. And then suddenly someone's saying, bro, I heard this and I heard that. And then it just is going to have somehow get leaked. Like, it's inevitable,
Yep.
Yeah.
I just thought it was funny. It's weird that pros complain about that, Well,
Rostermania is now part of the culture too. It's Christmas. Like, it's literally
it is
what we
literally
pay attention to during the offseason.
It's like almost as hype as champs. Like, there's like it's very competitive. Like, Crone tweeted like, they be hating on leaks, but they all have Woj like on notifications, and like Woj is like the NBA insider. Like,
yeah,
so true. It's so good. Crone's
point.
always shooting back at him, baby. Things you love to see.
yeah. So interesting debate here. What is better? More hours in COD or more quality hours? So like less hours,
this was
but the
news
quality,
because, like,
or just
Parasite
grind
and Zed were
time?
talking about it.
Right. I'll go with Zed's. He said, I agree. It's funny because of personal experience, you made it feel like you're not taking it seriously when you don't want to just grind 24/7. If you put in the extra hours outside of practice. And then he says it kind of like, that's just a stressful feeling to have. And Parasite had a long thing. Essentially said the quality of the practice is more important than the extra hours, but the extra hours can't hurt. It gets difficult because over time you start losing the sense of loving the game of COD. You love the competition that COD provides. and it's a sort of a stable paycheck. And I think it's something we see a lot in esports is that
like the young people are hungry.
You can burn out really fast in esports, and I think you can equate that to like it's not like you have to go to a football field and have to have other people around. Like you can literally do this 24/7 with no break. So like somebody else,
you have to give your body a break, or else you're gonna get hurt. You know, like you have to take breaks.
So like there's this mental gap where it's like you need to be playing all the time because like somebody else, they are playing all the time because somehow they have the tenacity and I guess the interest to just keep doing it because they're having so much fun. Whereas like somebody else who isn't so, I guess it's hard. I don't know how to put this without coming like bad, like so as invested in just like the game itself, you get tired. You get just worn out, and that will affect you to make you a worse player. So the consensus was quality of practice is better than just putting in 1 million hours. But that's why young stars like Simp and all them get so much better because they're young, they're hungry, and they just want to play the game 24/7, and they're super good.
Yeah, I mean, like they also talked about this a little bit on the flank with I think it was with Envoy and Octane talking about 8s and like do 8s help or not, and like should players like be expected to play 8s basically?
Yeah, so, it's like how much do you expect of them? Like,
yeah, I mean, I definitely get this same feeling when I do YouTube content. It's like if I'm not making a video today, someone else is making a video today. So like you know, you really can't take a break with YouTube. Like if you do, you feel like you're losing.
Yeah.
So it's a very similar feeling in that regard, but like, you know, I can totally see it. I mean, like, I feel like if I'm not playing COD, I'm like, dang, man, the rest of the community is getting better right now while I'm screwing around here doing whatever else, playing a different game or watching football or whatever it is.
Yeah. The one thing I would say too is I think there has been a shift and there should be a shift. So, you know, before the franchise league, it made sense to spend 11, 12 hours a day in the game, because it was pretty much you
were competing against the whole COD community.
You're competing against the whole COD community. But now, this is where I think, hiring the S&D specialists, hiring outside
For
help,
sure.
where it's like, have those guys figure out the weird nerd spots. And like, so like, it's not on you to grind 16 hours a day to try to figure out the spots.
Make
like,
sure you know every spot, every strat, every spawn, because the coaches are there to help you with that. And
exactly. So like there's no need to like burn yourself out when you have a whole team behind you to figure this stuff out for you, where you can just spend the quality hours of like fine tuning your like routes, your movement, and that kind of thing. So I think there really should be a shift in like how you play, where it's not up to the players to find these stuff out. Like that's where I think you saw the teams in the top 4 had a nice big team around them. It's up to them to help the players find these crazy spots, to find these weird angles and all that, whereas back in the day it was just those 4 players figuring that out. So
this was still sort of my theory that I was talking about, like, or we all kind of all talked about this early on with like the quote unquote honeymoon phase, though, with bringing in amateur players, was like kind of the fact that you bring in these dudes who have been grinding for 12 hours a day because they're in the amateur scene, they have to. And then suddenly they bring in this new level of like, well, did you know this thing about this map? Did you know about this spot? Did you know about these things? And like, that's when we saw like Insight bring out a handful of different spots that we'd never seen before. And like all of those things where you're like, I mean, playing those extra hours early on in the games that certain guys are doing that certain guys aren't, I mean, that can make a difference. And I think that comes into play a little bit when some of these AMs are coming into starting lineups in the middle / early on in the year.
Yeah, I think it does too. And I think it is easier to do longer hours in the beginning because it's the new game. There's so many new things. But what you hit a point where you're like, you kind of know the majority of the game. Like it's going to be one out of every 500 games that you discover something new. For sure. So it's like I feel like it's really hard to keep that level of tenacity up the whole time. And I think it's something that should be changed in esports. I think the opinion that you have to be playing 24/7 is not a healthy one. And I hope that gets fixed. And you're right. They have teams behind them. And it begs the question of, what are these coaches doing? I think we have an idea, but I think it's still somewhat of a mystery. Some coaches, all they are hype beasts. Other coaches, they're doing more analysis, but we don't really know what goes into that. And you would hope that there's somebody out there for these teams that is going to help these players along so they don't have to be the ones playing 24/7 to find you can, go prone under this car and see to the other side of the map or whatever.
Right. I mean, I think like the biggest thing, like what Parasite said, is the quality, but then it comes down to how much quality do you have and how much quality is it possible to say, how many hours of quality practice is possible for a COD pro to have reasonably? Like, can you have 8 hours of quality practice a day?
Yeah.
And like, what does that mean? Does that mean 3 hours of scrims and 5 hours of VODs and review and strategy and these things with your coaches? Or is it 6 hours of scrims and 2 hours of, VOD and all of these things that you're doing with your coaches? So like, there is that debate of what is quality to begin with. And then like, is a team doing 4 hours of quality? Are they doing 8 hours of quality? And like, where's the line? Like, is 6 hours of quote unquote quality practice equal to 4 hours of quality practice plus 4 hours of playing eights? Or like, what is, it's very vague statements, but like obviously quality is better than quantity, but what is quality? And can one individual player dictate that level of quality? Like if you're playing eights, but you're really dialed in and like trying to really learn while playing the eights, does that count as quality practice? I mean, then those are all debates, I guess, to be had by pro players.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a level of consciousness involved too. I think it's easy for people to get on COD and eventually you hit a point where like you played so much that like you are doing the stuff, like instinctual stuff that you just like taught yourself to know. Yeah. But then you could also be ingraining bad habits even more by playing
if you're playing
so much.
Eights or, doing these stupid ego chalice stuff that you'd only do in eights or whatever it is.
Yeah. And plus it doesn't create a burnout, and that does have negative side effects.
That could affect your scrims. Right.
And yeah,
if you're up till 5 a.m. playing eights and then you have scrims at noon, like it's probably not the best call for you to do, So like there is those things too. So
yeah, and
we'll probably talk more about that type of stuff later if we talk about the Envoy stuff, but
okay.
I think we'll move on.
If this is kind of interesting. If the current rosters hold true, the whole Evil Geniuses champs roster, which was Silly, Apathy, Assault, and Aches, won't be in the CDL, which is the first champs roster since Black Ops 2 Farrakhan that wouldn't be in the CDL.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw this on Reddit and I was like, that's cool. I threw it in the notes. I mean, technically though, with the Freako team, I mean, Parasite was on London last year. So, I mean, there's an asterisk there, but hey, shout out for that. But I thought that was cool.
The old guys.
So Courage, the old dog who used to be the COD guy who did casting, and he was, back in the day, Black Ops 3 was his thing. He talks about COD multiplayer changes that can make it more fun. S&D should show final kill cams. I agree with that statement. I think final kill cams I like them better.
S&D's better for sure.
For sure, in S&D and hard respawns, whatever, probably greatest play, but S&D should definitely be the final one because it's like the most important thing. Multiplayer lobbies shouldn't auto disband after every game.
That's obvious. Basically he has a bunch of obvious ones, like things that have been in past CODs, but he's just pissed that they changed.
Yeah,
like those things.
Yeah, it looks like the narrative is that bring in more community. Like you want to stay with the same lobby you've been playing in because it's nice to go against Venom XX and then you go the next game and you're still playing against him, or now he's on your team. Now you
create the little rivalry.
And you kind of create sort of like this, social group that plays in this lobby, and you just get to know these people over a course of a few games.
What I did is I would just create vendettas and shoot their bodies for 10 games straight till they quit.
Yeah, that's the fun thing. It's to really try and create something like that. But when they disband the thing every time, it's like, well, whatever.
No, for sure. It sucks. It 100% does. So, I mean, all the things he said were really straightforward. The one that he really wanted was to have proximity chats in S&D and like in multiplayer. So like you could talk to your enemy in game, like during a round, which would be some craziness, but also would definitely be fun. They should at least, I think it'd be fun to test, but
that would actually be so funny.
It would be pure comedy. And again, that's the thing is that I think COD never takes enough chances with like creating things for the sake of the YouTube content or the Twitch content, which is so important for creating like games that people love. But and then the biggest thing that I think Adam Apicella replied to it, and like with Courage was just talking about like how maps should be either like recycled really often, or they should have legacy maps that come with every single Call of Duty all the time, always. And like that's Adam's biggest thing is he thinks like, raid and these types of maps should be in every single COD as like staple maps for Call of Duty always.
Mhm.
Which I think makes a lot of sense
I do too.
overall. So, but yeah, we could probably move on.
Simp doesn't talk to pros outside of FaZe.
Great
title.
It's not the biggest
Kind of
news
I
ever.
was gonna say
It was
great
like
title.
a reply to some video with Ben J. Nassim. And then Sim says, by the way, Toronto is just about the only other team we are legitimately pretty cool with. If anyone takes in-game crap talk personal, that's on them. I doubt Ben cares if I'm yelling at him or not. So, and then he goes, you and Clay still homies? Someone said. And he goes, yeah, but we don't talk much. I don't really talk to anyone in the league outside of my team, though, TBH. So, you guys think it's weird? Not weird? Normal?
I was a little bit surprised that he wasn't like, he said he didn't really talk to other COD pros much, considering how much you see like so many of the other pros like being homies with everybody like 24/7. But I mean, FaZe is kind of locked in. They know they're not making any roster changes, so they're just
Maybe
kind of
that's the
chilling.
secret.
Well,
Maybe,
I mean, you look at
maybe
Nip.
it is. That's what it is.
Is it Nip in CSGO where like they're much, I think it's Nip, where they're much more like closed in. Like this is their team. They don't, and they're like the best in CSGO. Was it Vi something? Anyways,
Nip? Like
is
nipple?
it Nip? Ninjas in Pajamas or it's
Oh.
You're,
I don't watch
you're on
CS:GO
a whole
enough.
nother wavelength here.
But there's a team basically they just don't talk much, and Clay has talked about it and
What
other
is
things.
CSGO?
What'd you say?
I said, what is CSGO?
Yeah, never
Oh.
heard of it.
Oh, okay. Hey, but Clay's talking about similar things like trying to keep your circle tight. Like you want your team and you want, you don't want to view them as like the enemy, but you don't want to start forming these, I don't know, deep bonds. Like you really want to keep it tight.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I respect
mean,
it. And plus the way he
I
came in
respect
was
it.
such like a shock that like he went straight to the top immediately. So it's like, how much friends could he be, make in that amount of time? Like he became the best
That's
real
true.
quick. Everybody wants a team with him.
I mean, for
There's
a lot
no
of COD
groveling
pros,
for him.
networking is crucial for them ensuring their jobs. While, like, Simp's like, well, I'm kind of locked in here. So
Yeah.
I'd imagine it probably has to go with it too. But
I mean, Simp gets his pick of the litter on anything. He's never had to go to like, hey, do you think we should try and form a team together? Like he literally is like, I want you, you, and you. Let's do it. Like that's all he
for
has to
sure.
do.
Yeah, exactly. So I think he's in a pretty good spot.
And then in the, I think it was the Vanguard beta, there was an ad or Hotel Royale. Don't look down. Unlike Gavatu, the boundaries on these maps are unforgiving as one can easily step off the playable area and die instantly. Watch your step on their outskirts, especially if you're a Call of Duty League veteran. Trust us, even the best players in the world
Nice.
can and will fall off the map. Shout
The
out
troll and
Clayster.
Clay, baby.
Yep.
Things you love to
So
see.
nice little shout out, nice little thing from Sledgehammer. We got some, recognition for the COD scene there. So that's always cool.
Yeah.
Not totally ignored.
I mean, anything that has to do with competitive COD being mentioned by the developers is worthy of news at this point.
we exist.
I know, seriously. Any mention.
Exactly.
Really, it's how it is. Spicy news. Kind of. Rocker,
Rocker.
confirmed. They're sticking together.
Shocker.
Wow. Anybody?
Wow.
Any news?
Breaking news here.
So is that Standy, Attach, Major Maniac, and Priesta. LA Thieves announced their roster.
Another shocker here, folks.
Yeah, big shocker. We kind of knew about this one, but it's Envoy, Kenny, Draza, and Octane.
Yeah. No big surprise there. I mean, ended up being Octane and Envoy ended up being on the flank. Obviously, talked about it a little bit. Nothing too shocking there. Octane said the whole league knew. He didn't even get another offer. Like, they knew he was going to LA Thieves. And then Envoy wanted a team with Kenny. And so Envoy and Kenny talked to each other basically immediately after Envoy found out he was getting dropped, which he did not know he was going to get dropped until he said he was looking for houses. And then
when he
ended up getting
found out.
dropped. And then basically straight up like that, they wanted to play with Draza too. And that's kind of how the roster all formed. No shocker there, as the rumors suggested. But yeah, pretty straightforward. We'll talk more about those later though, for sure.
And then there's a rumor going around. Apathy will most likely be a part of LAG in some capacity. Whether that's a substitute, maybe. Did LAG announce? I think they did. So either a substitute or content creating
Or coach.
or coaching, analysis, what have you.
I think any of those things make a lot of sense. Which one do you think is most likely for him?
I mean, probably content creator, right?
I think substitute/content creation.
He has been grinding Warzone, so I mean,
I think he'll become their poster boy.
Yeah, I could see him just like becoming like a Warzone player for LAG.
I think he's a good fit. I mean, Apathy's a guy that I hope he creates a lot of content when he retires. Like, I hope he doesn't retire.
I think LAG is gonna. I mean, I feel like LAG will use him as like kind of their social. He's kind of like their version of Zuma for NYSL in a way.
This is what he needs to do.
They need to keep Chino.
Him and Sensor need to do like a duo something, like a podcast, like a talk show.
Oh yeah, I mean, because they're good friends too. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
Because then it's like, I don't know, they can talk about like their past. They can talk about, you know, being pros and all kind of stuff. I don't know. I think they have good
past relationships.
You know what could also bang? Sheen and Apathy doing their own little
that'd
like
be just a
COD
good
podcast.
vibes pod.
That would be a good vibes pod, but like once they're not in the league, like wonder how much they kind of let loose on things. We almost never really hear their honest perspective on things. They never are saying anything like. So I'm curious to hear what they would have to say about stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Like the two like nicest, you know.
Well, if Apathy ever wants to come
in the league,
hang out, we're down. Obviously.
Yeah. But heck yeah. Hit us up.
We'll see. I think Apathy will probably end up being their substitute, but then also just doing the content stuff too as well. There's probably gonna be some combination of both.
Yeah. That's it for the news.
Wow.
Oh yeah. So well, I guess the last thing, I don't think we really need to make it a segment, but I wanted to talk about the Envoy and Octane kind of like like that whole conversation there to like a more full extent here at the end of the news section. So obviously Envoy and Octane were on the flank. No free shoutouts, of course, you know.
Nope.
What even is that, you know? Couldn't tell you. But Envoy kind of like spilled the beans on all the OpTic stuff. I made a video about it today, so if you haven't seen that, of course, you know, check that out, of course. But I just overall thought it was like a really interesting conversation with Envoy and how honest he was about OpTic's problems on the season. And overall his just honest opinions about the squad. Was there anything that like stood out to you guys? Because I mean, off the rip, because there was obviously a lot of spicy things in that thing. I mean, we could talk basically any way, but what are your thoughts there?
Oh man, we could start with like his opinion of how their practices were, I guess. Or maybe you can talk about like they basically never did VOD review.
Right. They like rarely looked over scrims. Like if they did, it was maybe like one hardpoint hill once every few weeks or something.
It's
and like
the
he
same
said
story, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, and I made a video about it, and like someone was commenting, like, this makes so much more sense now thinking about what R-Cities. Remember that rant that R-Cities had last year? That kind of like got heard where he was like ranting about how they don't do enough preparation. And
which is so weird that they're kind of behind the curve on that. Because I think we've seen these successful teams are much more like, you know, quote unquote professional about it, but they're still living in the past. Almost. Yeah.
I mean, and like, you know, and as for R-Cities, I mean, like he's the guy who's highlighted so many times this year about his absolute love for their coaching staff. And like when he was on my channel, you know, he was really, really happy about that. And like multiple times said like, we would not be who we are without the coaches. And he said that after champs as well, like we would not be here without the coaches. And like, he thinks that they do so much important work for them. And like, if you're hearing that from FaZe, who says like, we would not be we would not be winning COD champs right now if we didn't have our coaching staff. You know, like it matters having an assistant coach, an analyst, an S&D analyst. This is something we've talked about a lot on the pod. I don't think we need to like hammer it home too much more, but like OpTic's got to double down on the coaching staff.
Well, it's like, how did they not jump on board with that idea? Like, I understand you have like the greatest of all times or whatever on your team, but it's like, and they've been around forever. I mean, they have Sender, and Envoy had glowing reviews of Sender actually.
Oh, for sure.
But
again, one man can't do the job of four. Like,
and it sounded like there was some iffiness of like certain players weren't listening to Sender, didn't really care what he had to say. And he said that could end up happening with this Dallas roster where like it's hard to convince them to.
So that was the biggest moment of the whole podcast for me, I think. It was, I timestamped as the 47 mark of the YouTube video, but basically Envoy, Ben said, well, you know, Rambo's not going to let that slide. Like, they're going to be going over tons of VOD and like doing all these things. And Envoy was like, I don't know. It's going to be hard. Like, it's hard to coach sometimes. And I'm like, what? Like, why would you say that? And then he's like, the players have a lot of power, you know? And like Envoy literally said that. I'm like, wow. I mean, come on. He's talking about Scump, right? He's got to be, I mean, like who else who has like a bunch of power, you know? Like,
I mean, Scump,
formal.
Dashy. I think they all could be culprits. I'm not going to point any one of them
for
out.
sure. Well, I mean, and Formal
But
retired
it's a
and
team
he
thing
did say,
too.
right. And like Formal retired and said like, you know, I didn't have the passion for it anymore. Like what I thought I should. And then that could be also a testament to some of that too. And maybe because Formal didn't want to get on, then that didn't really make Scump or Dashy want to get on. And then it was kind of just a whole frustrating thing. And Envoy even took quite a bit of responsibility for it and said like, well, even though at times I thought we should have been practicing more, I should have just said something instead of just been sitting by the side and waiting to talk about it till now.
Yeah,
so,
he claimed himself he didn't have enough passion this year.
Yeah. So there was a lot of interesting conversation there, but like at the end of the day, like the biggest takeaway was like, they just did not have enough preparation.
Yeah,
And
they
it-
didn't
and it
get into
bit
a
them-
private
it bit
match
them at
more
the
than
end of the
once
day.
the whole year.
Yeah. Besides, he said for trophy usage.
Yeah.
Which was interesting to say the least.
It just
And then he also said that they missed a lot of scrims once they stopped streaming.
does this not sound like the same story every year?
Every
with
year
Optic?
now, for the past 3 years, it's been the same.
Like,
Yeah.
how do you not learn from that? It's the same thing where it's like we just didn't go over things. We didn't have the passion.
And that sounds like Crim's problems with Optic and why he was so mad at them
Yeah,
Envoy and Krim could probably have a pretty good conversation.
right now. Yeah.
exactly. It sounded like
Varsities included.
it sounded like TP's problems with him during World War II.
Or he felt like he just couldn't get enough out of him. Like,
Exactly.
and Black Ops 4, right? He was a
and-
coach for that.
yeah.
Black Ops 4 too. It's like the same thing. And then like too, like when like
And then RCD said it last year.
exactly. And like I know we've all had discussions too in the past like where like you like ask or like you'll want to know what went right, what went wrong with this team, and they'll just say, "Oh, we just weren't clicking," or "Oh, we just
Right.
had a bad series." It's like,
One of those
no.
guys caught fired. Like,
Yeah, it's like no. There's like
there's got to be more to it than that.
there's
you know?
more to it than that, and I think that shows like they just were trying to just click, quote unquote, and instead of trying to.
Right.
Like,
And they were
figure
saying
out-
that they were frying in scrims. And this is something I brought up in the video. Like,
And they were. At least when we
I
were
think they
watching
were.
them, they were.
oh yeah, no, and like when you watch the scrims, like when they were streaming them, like they looked good, like in the scrims.
Mhm.
But like again, if you're playing Optic on stream, though, even if you're just playing, I mean, like it's scrims at the end of the day. Like you're not going to use all your best strats, every single best strat.
And that's the
in
thing
scrim.
too, is like the other teams are probably trying out different stuff too. Like they're probably not even like trying to like,
Right.
do their thing, and like Optic is probably just trying to slay out. And yeah, they're probably going to win most of them by doing that. But they're not, they're not practicing any strats. They're not trying out any new things. It's
Coming
like,
in with like real objectives each
Yeah.
map. Like maybe they are, but just not as much as other teams, or like not as
Yeah.
structured as some other teams. And that
Yeah.
matters over a whole season. Like, of 8+ months or nearly a year of grinding practice, like that matters, It's like 9 months of practice. If you're improving 1% at a 1% faster pace over 9 months than Optic is, then that's going to be the difference between a championship or between winning around 11, or like between winning one rotation on Moscow or whatever it is.
Mhm.
And that's how you build those small advantages over 9 months.
yeah. So I don't know. I just, it's kind of gets frustrating hearing that same story every single year. And I don't know if this next roster, the Dallas Optic merger roster, is going to fix that. I hope it does, and I hope with Rambo coming in, maybe he can actually set some rules or something like that. But I don't know. It just seems like for some reason there is a inherent problem with the Optic guys making the same mistake every year, where it's just preparation at the end of the day. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's what's really tough for sure. I mean, I thought there was some fun takeaways from like Envoy and Octane's whole talk, kind of like talking about LA Thieves, and Envoy multiple times highlighted like Octane's passion for the game, and like Draza specifically, like both of them, they all highlighted Draza's
Everyone
passion
highlighted how
for the game.
passion Draza
and like
was.
they're like, yo, we've never seen a guy who wants to grind more than Draza. This dude always wants to play COD and like wants to grind and get on and get better. So they had
Don't
like
chow me on check.
and they had raving reviews about Draza and his passion for the game. So that's pretty cool to hear
And you
about,
can
about
see it
him.
in Draza too.
I think so.
Hate
Yeah.
him or love him, you can't say like he doesn't care. He cares.
That's true. That's true. And so that was interesting to see. And overall, like just that whole opinion. I think some really good takeaways, and it made me a little bit more of a believer in this LAT roster being able to click.
Yeah.
Heading into this next year, kind of hearing their explanation for why they wanted to build a team like this and the reason for wanting to play with like Kenny and their confidence in either Kenny or Draza running the SMG. One thing they said is that they want to decide on it by the beginning of the year and then stick with that player running that role for the whole year. Like they wanted to really emphasize, like, because Envoy was like, well, as long as Draza's not switching roles every month like last year. So it was kind of like they really want to make sure they can iron out those roles earlier on than what they did with LAT last year. So that makes sense, I think, too. And overall, I felt like it was a pretty good like overall takeaway. One thing I thought was interesting was that Gunless said in his video or his flank that him and Asim were a sort of a duo in Rostermania. I'm like, oh, that's surprising. I wouldn't have thought that, like, with those two guys kind of connecting as like a duo in a sense. So
you can kind of see like similar mindsets though,
Oh,
like
for sure.
Similar drives, similar
whatever
passion.
it takes to win type idea.
Yeah,
because they both kind of have that going for them. So
yeah, I wonder like how they started like talking, because there's no chemistry.
Yeah,
there's no past chemistry, right, with teams.
No, I don't know.
So, yeah,
it actually is fun. Yeah, because like one thing that Gunless was because they asked him how him and Slasher kind of reconnected, because obviously they've had some weird discussions in the past. I think with like past the breakup of Rise and all of those things in the past. And Gunless said that him and Austin feel like they both matured quite a bit since they last teamed, and they had like a really good conversation about each other's stubbornness and how they can both be more open-minded to feedback and things along those lines. So I thought it was like a really like a good conversation from Gunless, and you can definitely see how he's turned into a really, really great teammate. I mean, I don't think the Gunless of like IW or even World War II is the same guy we have today, like in any sense, and how he is as a teammate. I mean, every team person that's played with him the past 2 years, like all the OpTic guys had really high reviews of Gunless. It was just that the team didn't click, on paper or in the map. And then all the Seattle guys said Gunless was an unbelievable teammate. So, yeah, I think the LAG team gets really, really interesting from here.
Definitely.
Well, boys, are you ready for this?
I think we're ready.
Alrighty, so without further ado, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into some roster mania madness and talk about and build these squads ourselves. Without further ado, let's get into it, baby. Let's go.
Hello, you play to win the game.
Oh, baby. Okay, so this is going to be really, really fun. How we're doing this is we're going to be drafting like the CDL had a Rostermania draft. We're all divvying up the 12 teams. Each of us will have 4 teams we're drafting for. And going from there and kind of we're going to be picking one captain from the current rosters to kind of be our captain for the team. And then going from there. I guess we just rock and roll from here. This is what our draft board's currently looking like. We've got the rumored rosters out there right now. And so I've got Paris, Surge, Rocker, and Dallas. Rex has Gorillas, Subliners, Mutineers, and Ultra. And Sam's got Ravens, FaZe, Thieves, and NRGs / Chicago's current spot. And we'll rock from there. Obviously, we're choosing from the new rosters because we thought it'd be a more fun, interesting conversation than choosing from like last year's rosters. And even though a lot of the rosters this year still have like their captains from last year. So we thought it'd be a better, more fun way to do it that way. So with that said, I think each of us can kind of go through and announce our captain for our teams. And then we can kind of go in the draft order from like top left and kind of rock and roll through that way. Just make it simple. So, all right, Sam, who's your captain for the London Royal Ravens?
I'm going to go with Afro.
Makes sense. I don't think that's any big surprise.
Nope.
Who's your captain for FaZe?
Simp. The man Simp.
Not a surprise there either. And LA Thieves.
And maybe this is a surprise. I don't know, but I want Draza for my captain.
Oh,
respect.
Ballsy.
Mm-hmm.
That is a hot take, and I am here for it. Who's your captain for Energy?
Energy. So are we just saying like anyone here, or are we just going to leave it at 0?
You're chalked.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
I love it. No captain.
LAG, Rex, who is your captain for LAG?
Asim.
Nice. All right. Fun. New York. I already
Clay.
got that one moved for you. Yep. Okay. And, and the Mutineers.
Guys,
Makes sense.
Good choice.
Ultra.
Cammy.
Okay, so obviously I've got Paris at the top here, so we got a clean slate right now because they don't have any rumored roster. For the Surge, I mean, I got to choose between Sib, Mac, Accuracy, and Pred, which is a fun choice here, honestly. I'm going to stick with Mac
Okay.
and let Sib and Pred hit the waiver wire, but I think Mac's kind of like he's the safest choice, and I feel like he provides the most like flexibility for the roster because he's a sub, he's also a flex, and can give me a little bit of flexibility for that roster. Rocker, I mean, I'm going to stick with Standy, kind of like the all-star SMG. Gives me as much opportunity to kind of slay out and build an elite squad around him, since I am the rocker, of course. And then for THAT.S OpTic, this gets interesting.
Yeah.
So
Who's it gonna be?
are we including the extracurricular stuff here? Because otherwise, I feel like you'd have to choose Scump, obviously. I mean, it kind of depends on how. Do we want to be as realistic with this as possible? Do we want to like kind of play like I'm Hex here? Let's try to do it realistic.
Okay.
Okay, well then I'm taking Scump then as my captain because we're being realistic here. I think maybe we should just go in order of the board here. I don't know. I kind of randomized the board, so it could just be kind of that.
Yeah,
Alright,
that's just the
fine.
board. Basically, like we all have. So Josh has 12, Rex has 11th, and I have
Right.
10th, and then so on and so forth.
The goal of this game is not just to build a God squad, but it's also just to have like the conversations of why this player and not this player, why this player and not that player, and kind of going through that kind of like whole talk process. Because obviously our audio listeners out here, you know, they can't see the board. So it really is about that kind of that process and going through it like that. So we'll start with London and we'll kind of whip our way around and then end with Dallas, and then Dallas starts the second round. All right.
Yeah.
So, all right. So this is gets very the London Royal Ravens have the first pick in the draft. Who would have thought?
Wow.
So we're getting some crazy duo here with Afro. So if you're a GM and you have Afro as your main sub and you can choose from the litter here. Again, this is when the CDL decided every team gets to keep a captain from their current rosters, and then we're building a squad around those guys. Because you got to keep one guy, of course, for the brand. You know, hashtag for the brand. Who would you choose to pair with Afro, Sam?
I know. So I guess, you know, kind of taking into consideration, not like God Squad, maybe kind of, you know, factoring in some other things. You know, I do think Ravens are wanting to make a EU roster. I think
I like the direction you're going with this.
I know. So
You're thinking brand a little bit, but also you want the elites of the elites out here.
exactly. And like that's not to say that their rumored roster right now is actually pretty nasty when it comes to like the EU.
Yeah. But when you got some of these guys on the
At
board,
the same time,
so you're looking at
Ultra.
either Hydra or the Ultra here.
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So I'm thinking I take Kleenex.
Okay. That is very
Interesting.
fair. I like the direction of that a lot. I'm gonna have to find all these guys now. So Kleenex is the 101. That's a surprise to be sure. But it makes a lot of sense. Again, we're kind of role playing as London. You're pairing Afro with Kleenex to create the start of this roster here. I like that a lot. Great start there. So Rex, now you're on the board here with the LA Gorillas who captained ASIM. And you're sitting there, you're cronky. You're like, all right, what type of roster am I trying to build here with all my cash?
I mean,
I've got
literally can
ASIM on the
take
squad
anybody.
already. And ASIM can kind of roll with a lot of the other SMGs on the team. You can kind of go a lot of different directions with this. So who are you going with?
I mean, if I'm LAG, I think that they aren't particularly super in tune with what's happening in the scene. So honestly, I think they're just going to, my methodology with them would be, I'm just going to give the most money to the best players that I can get.
Okay.
So with that
Makes
being
sense.
said, I'm just going to take a Beezy.
Yeah, I mean, and a Beezy ASIM dynamic duo is scary to think about on the map. I mean, they're going to be, those first bloods, they'll be flying at you. One
Yeah.
of them's going to, they're going to be like arguing about who gets to go first. They're like, nah, man, bro, let me go first. All right, please. It's going to be like, nah, I'm holding the door for you. Nah, I'm going to hold the door for you.
That is funny.
So the Paris Legion, I mean, this is the easy pick. They're the Paris Legion. They got the Phenom on the board. They're hyped that they got
there
to
you
him.
go.
Hydra. is the first player off the board to be their captain of this team and to build a roster around. And we saw him be dominant in the scene, and he's as good as it gets. You get to build around the brand of Paris with your French phenom. Hail Hydra. Easy pick there for the Legion.
Yeah.
So, Sam, you're on the board here. You've got Simp on the board with 2 Atlanta FaZe players still out there.
I was gonna say, I mean, I might as well pick one of them, right?
I mean, it's not a bad pick either way.
I know. Honestly, yeah. I feel like if this ever happened, and it got to this point where FaZe Simp's like, hey, I've already lost the BZ. Let me grab Arcides.
Oh, get my guy, the main AR for the squad. Overselling him though. Bold take there.
Overselling him. Overselling him.
Why overselling him?
Well, I do think
He wants that general.
yeah, I do think if Simp was the captain here, I do think Arcides not guaranteeing Celium. I guess, yeah.
They've won 2 champs together.
Yeah, exactly. They do have a history together. Arceus, I do think, provides a lot for a main AR. I mean, when it comes to when you think of like basic main ARs, I think Arceus, I mean, pretty much the best
leadership,
one there, right?
teamwork.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a pretty easy pick there for
I love it.
old Simp.
Fair play. I love it. Rex?
New York Subliners. This is
You're
another,
rocking
I
with
feel
Clay.
like, pretty easy pick. I'm going to be taking Shotzi for the New York Subliners.
Okay.
Ooh.
There's the past relationship between Empire, with Shotzi and Clay on the same team.
Yeah.
Shotzi's an elite sub. Clay,
I think they're going to feel like they got a
thrives
value
off
there.
elite subs. Yeah. So Clay and Shotzi.
Shotzi falling to the 5th pick's a pretty shocking play here in the CDL. But again, you got to think about the brand a little bit here. It makes a lot of sense. So
This builds a narrative.
it builds a narrative, man. It really, really does. So this is an interesting one because we got Mac as the captain of the Surge, and he's got the pick of the litter. You know, I mean, Matt can run SMG, he can run Flex. So he has a lot of options here to kind of choose his guy, to kind of find the player he wants to play with. You've got Phoenix there as the coach for the Surge. You know, he's down to build a European roster. So I've got a few guys I'm looking at here. I'm thinking maybe looking at either Insight. I mean, Celium is still on the board, though. And I feel like if you're Celium, and if you're like Mac, you're like, I got to play with that guy. So I don't think I can let Celium fall past the 6th pick here. We're going to rock with Celium and Mac and just have Mac run an SMG like he did in Modern Warfare and let Celium be freaky and do his thing with as a flex for the Surge. So Sam,
That's
you're
a
on the
good
board.
pick.
LA Thieves.
Man. LA Thieves.
Draza is your captain.
Draws is the captain here. Again, so similar situation to Mac. He can run either SMG.
There's some good players out there. I mean, obviously you've got, the Envoys of the world out there. You got Hook out there. You've got Vivid.
Vivid is
Vance.
Vivid is super interesting. I mean, he was so
Priesta,
good.
Attach, Illy.
I'm thinking he might just do the same thing he's thinking. I think he chooses Envoy here.
Okay. I mean, just balance. It's a safe pick. You know what you're getting with Envoy.
It is. Absolutely. You can still kind of decide if you want to run AR or SMG depending on the 3rd pick here, but definitely a safe pick.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay, fair play. Well, Sky's up next with Awakening here, or with the Mutineers. Obviously, I was going to say, does he want Awakening on the team, though? You know, his guy is still here.
My big gripe with Mutineers has always been there's been a lack of, I think, communicative leadership. This is what I would be aiming for if I was heading up the Mutineers, finding someone who can be that
play with Skies,
vocal leader and can play with Skies. I would go ahead and take.
Who are you thinking about here?
So I'm thinking, leadership guys: Zero, Crim6, Slasher.
The fact that you mentioned Zero first is pretty. That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of leaning towards Zero. It feels like he's a guy who can mesh in with the vibe of
Gunless, Crim, Awakening, Slasher, Kenny.
Yeah, but I'm looking for a leader.
I'm looking for
a leader. Mutineers was a star-studded roster with no real focal leadership.
Could Attach be that guy? Attach and Skies playing together, maybe?
No, I'm thinking Zero. I'm taking Zero.
Wow.
Whoa. What?
I think Zero's vibe and demeanor is going to fit really well with this, but I don't think Zero is afraid to speak his mind also. I think there's a potential for great chemistry to form within the Mutineers brand with Zero on the roster. Yes,
over
he's
like
European.
a Kenny?
I'm looking for I'm looking for leadership qualities. That was our fallback as the Mutineers. The past 2 seasons is a lack of like focused
but like
leadership.
gunless. I mean, I feel like
you're acting like these are like those are not the right vibes to be bringing to the team.
When you're talking about Skies, I mean Skies and Zero. I mean, I feel like that's kind of weird.
You need
combo.
a unifier who can also work you hard.
I feel like Kenny would have been a locked in play there.
Focus on building a culture. I don't know how much culture really Kenny is building. I need my like my Ted Lasso sort of thing. Like someone who can create a culture.
Okay, I mean, I just don't think the Mutineers would do that, but
well, they should because they need a leader. They need a leader.
You're high on Zero, then that means you were very.
I'm not like
super
high on Zero, but I think it's either like a Crim6 or a Slasher or a Zero.
But why would Zero do that better than like a Kenny or Gunless or a THAT.S or Priesta?
I think there's a level of respect Zero can gain, and I haven't been. I'm not convinced. Like, yeah, these other players can lead, but can they lead combo, in the right way?
With Skies and Zero, it's a kind of weird combo.
I don't think it's that weird.
Pretty weird.
I really think this is a team that could work because I think Zero is one of the best, like, relatable personalities who can really kind of unify anybody in that sense. And I think that's what the Mutineers need, because Mutineers, they don't seem to be, at least Skies at this point, like, he's not a very like hot-headed individual. And there's good things about that, but there's also bad things in the sense that, like, he's not going to be in your face about things. And if he is, he might not take it very well. Where I think Zero can get in your face, but he does it in a way that is not going to be like make you feel so bad. It's going to be like constructive criticism.
I mean, fair, but.
And so I think Zero is going to bring that aspect of veteran to this
I feel
team.
like to pair with like a AR like Skies, I just feel like Kenny would have been like a really nice pick there. Maybe you could go with Dashy or
well,
Illy.
yeah, I could do that. I could go out and I'm like, yeah, then we'll just go through this list and I'm picking out all the greatest players at their specific roles. But that's not what this is, because I'm also trying to build a chemistry.
I mean, I think that would do that pretty well. But you know, hey, you're the GM here, I guess. So
I mean, I'm taking a risk on Zero, maybe a little bit, but I think the weakest point Mutineers has been that unified leadership aspect. There's a sense of apathy. You probably could have got him
with a later pick. You know, you maybe reached a little bit on Zero. But
I mean, maybe.
It's fair. It's fair.
I'm thinking of where our weakest points are, and like I think Zero could be the best leader for a squad.
Okay. All right.
Like this.
Next up is the Rocker. And obviously Standy's their captain. So there are so many dang good players left on the board. I mean, like Insight is still on the board here at pick number 9, which seems impossible, but it kind of fell that way because of how the board played out. I mean, at this point, I think Standy would be like, I mean, come on, Insight's still on the board.
I know.
He's a guy that would just be, I think he's too good to pass up at this point. I mean, the other guys would be like Dashy or Octane or, you know, Awakening, Kenny. There's some really, really good players here still. But if Standy's looking at a guy who's a fellow rookie with, you know, this year, he's like, I'm pulling the trigger on Insight. We're going to build an insane squad together. The North will combine with Toronto and Standy joining the Rocker. And we'll go with a little Insight Standy action here for the Rocker. So Sam, you're on the board.
All right. So I'm NRG. I am trying to sell my spot. I am not.
The suitor number 1 is the big thing here.
Yeah. So I am trying to get a decent team at a decent price. I'm not one to overspend.
Right. So you're taking that into account here. That's why
you want a team that you can sell in the future. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, but like at the same time, not overspending.
Or like a team that you'd be willing to let go of after one season.
Yes.
Because you're selling a roster or something like that.
Yes. So I think I could probably.
You don't have to be insanely realistic here, but you know, you can play it by ear.
Absolutely. I think
Slasher?
I could get. I'm trying to be like I'm trying to kind of strike a balance here.
Okay. All Who are you thinking about? Like accuracy? Like, are you thinking about like an AR here? You're thinking about an SMG here?
Yeah, I'm kind of like one guy that popped in my
Major
head is
Maniac?
like wonder if Vivid would make sense here to like a guy to build around where it's like his stock might be a little bit low, but he is a phenomenal SMG player.
Yeah, I mean, the question is obviously in realistic terms right now is the price of the buyout of Dallas, but this is obviously in a world where we're doing a draft. And if you're the NRG team, if there was a draft this year and the NRG team's like, oh crap, like, we're going to be able to get a good team, but we're going to have to pay these guys some big money if we draft them. Like, I think Vivid could make sense.
Yeah.
Pull the trigger. Vivid.
Yes. So in that case, I think I'll try to build around.
I keep forgetting to get Vivid's new picture. It's his old picture.
It looks nothing like him.
But all right, that's
crazy.
a fair play. I think Vivid could make a lot of sense for the NRG team trying to build a low-key good roster, you know? So the Ultra on the board here. Obviously, Bance is still on the board, but there's also some really dang good players left here. And if you're Cammy, I think you're very willing to play with some of these other guys as well. So obviously, Cammy's a flex. So he's either looking for a main AR to team with, or he's looking for, a nasty like SMG or something along those lines.
Speaking of a nasty.
Oh, you think that route? Oh, very fun.
I don't know.
So who are you thinking about, Rex?
Ultra, I mean, there is a debate whether like you take Bance. I think Bance was a key part of success. Again, I have a priority with like a sense of what leadership potential an individual person can bring, and Bance brings that a lot. I don't know if that would be the strongest thing Ultra needs right now. They seem to be hitting a place, especially Cammy, I think is starting to hit a stride where he could turn into somewhat of leadership potential. I don't think he needs as much environment.
Okay.
I'm going to take Kenny.
Oh, interesting. Wait, so is Kenny going to be running an SMG or in like in the main AR, or how's that going to play?
Probably main AR.
Interesting. So you're just gonna let him rock as the main AR.
Yeah, I mean he killed it in Cold War. Cammy can do anything.
Maybe you
Kenny
see how it ends
anything.
up with your draft picks maybe, and see.
That's kind of what it is. But like I know I got two players who can play any role that's already like a hot commodity, and I got both. So
okay, fair play. Well, now I got a very interesting I got two picks here with the OpTic Dallas team here. I could get two current teammates. I could just go Dashy and Illy and rock and roll that way. The guys I'm looking at here would be Octane, Hook, Neptune, Illy, and Dashy, probably as my options here. I feel like either way, it's A, realistic, and B, it makes a lot of sense to have Dashy on this team. So I'm gonna lock Dashy in with Scump, considering A, it's realistic, B, it just makes sense. And he's nasty. He's also very good in himself. So that A, solid pick there. Then it comes down to, do I want Dashy to run the main AR? Do I want him to be a flex and kind of pull like the OpTic situation last year and rock with like Octane on this team? And then do like Octane at main, Dashy at flex, and then Scump and whoever falls to me. But what I know for a fact is that there's a lot of main ARs in the CDL, and I'm gonna have to wait 24 picks before I get back to OpTic again here. So I gotta pick my player who I think fits best on this roster, A, from a chemistry standpoint, and B, from like an upside standpoint. And so I'm gonna bring the chosen one back to the team, and I'm gonna take Hook on this roster to return to Dallas. And go with Scump, Hook, and Dashy as the kind of core three here for OpTic. It was a tough call between him and Illy. Neptune was in consideration as well. But I think overall, is like a fundamental player for this OpTic team who just fits the team. He's a big personality in the scene already in himself. And he's just really, really good at Call of Duty, and that helps as well. So we'll keep Hook on that Dallas squad. So Rex, you are back on the board.
Okay, so I had
with that Ultra team.
With this Ultra squad, which is Kenny and Cammy at this point. I have two amazing flex players. So now it's a question of, again, a leadership thing.
Do you go two SMGs here, or do you go a main AR and move Kenny down to SMG, or how do you want to play that? So that's the first decision.
So there is there's a gap to bridge here between, NA and EU. And, traditionally in the past, we have seen it doesn't really always work out the greatest. I think it can work out still with this team.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw Bance back onto the Ultra.
Okay. Interesting.
I think he's
Get that SMG.
that calm leadership demeanor that's gonna
It's a
keep
good pick.
everyone. Below.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. All right, Sam, you're on the board. You got Vivid as your captain, your NRG here. You're on the expansion teams. And there's some nasty, nasty talent out there still. Like the fact that Octane's still on the board here after 14 picks is
I was just gonna say
pretty insane. I mean, Illy, you've got Awakening, Slasher, Crim, Neptune, Paul, like Gunless, Sib, Pred, Attach, Priesta, Major Maniac. Some really, really great players that are currently in the CDL that are out there still on the waiver wire.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think here.
Who are you thinking? Who are your top few here?
I'm considering Gunless.
Okay.
Kind of balancing again that pay versus quality,
Talent.
talent.
Trying to keep it realistic with what energy you would actually be able to get right now and things like that.
Thinking about accuracy. Even, I mean, maybe Aqua, like I said before.
Interesting.
But I think
could you pair Slasher with Vivid here?
I know. See, that's the thing.
Crim?
Like, do you get Crim might be?
I think Crim may be out of their price range.
Yeah, I feel like Gunless makes sense here. I
think it does too. Honestly,
someone who isn't going to be crazy expensive, but still going to be a pretty good fit for the team.
Gunless and Slasher, or Gunless and Vivid off the rip
Gunless
here.
And Vivid, yep.
Okay, all right.
Kind of a
I can
weird
get behind
pairing,
that.
But
no, but that was a Vivid. They were trying to get Vivid this year for that Seattle team, so they thought it could work too. And we've seen Vivid be great, and I think Gunless would be excited to play with Vivid. So overall, energy's like, all right, well, we'll just out like I don't know what Gunless getting paid, 80, 100K maybe to get Gunless this year and see what happens. So I like that a lot. So now my Minnesota Rocker are on the board, and so I got some decisions to make here. Currently, I'm rocking with Insight and Standy. So insane dynamic duo here off the rip. And I mean, the fact that Octane's still on the board here is insane.
I know. I was just going to say, how
it
is he
feels
still?
horribly unrealistic. But at the same time, I've already got a main AR. So I can't have Octane. I can't have Slasher. I can't have Crim. So I think there's only one pick that makes sense here. And I got to bring my SMG duo back. He's on the board. We've got Attach to join the rocker again with Standy and Insight and kind of be that little trio here. If you guys can see it here over here. Bang. We got Attach rocking with the rocker again with Standy and Insight. Between a few of the other SMGs there are pretty interesting. Like Illy was very tempting to kind of bring in as a potential either flex or SMG and give me that flexibility heading into my final pick here in the 4th round. But I thought you got to bring back Attach was going to go off the board here pretty soon. So I thought I had to snag him. So he's on the board, baby. Mutineers are up next, Rex. Who you got?
So for Mutineers, again, so I'm looking for
your weird
more
squad.
Team
Who do you got
bonding
currently?
sort of thing. I have Skies and Zero on the squad.
Okay.
And I think the way we're going to try
Weird
and
squad.
bridge this little gap here is I'm going to take my chances with Priesta.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
Okay.
A good vibes overall quality player. You're passing on Illy.
It's a good, this is like a good vibes team, but I think Zero really is my catalyst of bringing the intensity up a notch, but also, I don't know, keeping it cool.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Fair play. So is Priesta then on main SMG then? So you got Priesta rocking main SMG?
Yes, probably. We have to try out Zero, Priesta, see how what it looks like in scrims. But right now, I think we're probably looking at Priesta as an SMG.
All right. Well, I mean, dude, Sam, the golden child returned.
It's destiny.
It's destiny.
It has to be. So currently, I've got Draza and Envoy. Of course,
somehow this team is literally forming.
Of course, I'm picking Octane to join the old LA Thieves. So
that is crazy.
I mean, it was destiny.
It was destiny. I mean, literally,
Yeah.
How that actually fell into place is crazy.
That's great.
I mean, the thing is, that somehow you could have like waited on Draza. You probably would have got Draza anyway if you selected
Probably.
Octane as your captain.
Yeah.
And then who knows?
No shot. I would have taken Draza real quick.
Ooh,
Really?
okay.
Oh wow. Okay.
I
fair
think a
play.
lot of teams would.
Good to
All right.
know.
Well, then you made the right choice, Sam, for
I
the
sure
LA
did.
Thieves. Well, alrighty. You're still on the board here now with Atlanta FaZe, right? Or no? Oh no,
it'll be
I'm-
you.
The Surge are up next. Yeah, my bad. Alrighty. Surge on the board. Currently, I got the very interesting squad of Celium and Mac. All right. This is
Such a weird duo.
I love this squad so far. This is fantastic. I mean, it's just between two players. It's between Illy and Neptune. But Illy's another potential flex guy.
Mhm.
I'm taking the strategy of booting my main AR till the end.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna go with Neptune and pair Neptune with Cell and Mac and create a kind of like a really weird squad of 4 like just grinder, just units, just gamers.
So
You know?
who's your is Mac running your second SMG then?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Unless there's some weird world where a good SMG gets back to me.
Mhm.
But that'll probably be he'll be a main SMG for sure. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really happy with that. Mac, Celium, and Neptune so far for the
Not bad.
Surge.
Not bad.
So Rex, you're on the board here. I mean, dude,
Yeah.
you can
I
build
wanna,
this squad.
Yeah, I mean, I want to run it back probably. Let me just analyze this real quick.
You got Krim and Illy. I mean, those got to be one of those two guys.
Yep, I think I'm going to throw... Yep, we're going to put Illy on the squad.
Nice. So you got the Illy and Shotzi dynamic duo back at it
Paired
again
with Clayster.
with Clay this time. So you're building the Empire here in New York,
Mm-hmm.
the Empire State Building. Things you'll love to see. Sam,
I
you
think
got the Atlanta FaZe.
Yeah, I think so. So far, I've got Simp and I've got Arcides. I think Awakening would be a perfect third.
Flex.
a
Ooh,
perfect
that's
guy on this
dirty.
team. Yeah, I think you've got Arcides obviously running the main AR. Then you got Awakening running that flex, and then paired with Simp. Ooh, this could be a disgusting team. Obviously,
I know how to space
Yeah,
still
man.
end up having like this great team.
I know.
That's pretty cool. I mean, Awakening was definitely one of the sleeper guys that fell quite a ways there, just
Mhm.
because we had like flexes that just kind of lined up in the right
well, it's
spots.
hard
but-
to pinpoint what to do with Awakening.
Mhm.
Oh, for sure. He's got to fit into the right squad. But I think that's a really, really good fit for him there. That's a fun team. So
It is a fun team.
now that Paris Leafs are up again, they only have they were hindered because they only
Lonely
have
Hydra.
Lonely Hydra, man. He's all alone. So sad. But they have you compare him right here with a perfect leader, a team, the guy that they need here. Krim is joined.
Ooh,
Is this
that's
even? It's
perfect.
not really realistic though. Maybe it's not realistic.
I mean,
'Cause we're
how
trying
would it not be realistic?
It's the Paris Legion. They'd never pay more than $50K for a player unless.
But this is a draft. They have no choice
Yeah.
in the matter.
Maybe Slasher might be. I mean, you're the GM here, but
I know. I was like, it makes a lot of sense, but maybe they just go with Pred and they just like boot the AR.
they could.
All the other teams already have 2 SMGs, so Pred will get back to me.
It's hard. It's like I feel like they might shell out for Krim.
Maybe
You know.
Krim's their staple, but they have Hydra. They'd be shelling out for Hydra.
True.
So that was their big contract, guys. So maybe they're like, man, we're broke now. Poor Paris. I mean, we got to sell the city. Like,
Maybe get Wuskins.
oh,
That'd be an interesting pick, huh?
that'd be interesting. But I can get him with the next pick.
True. True.
I mean, I'll go with Krim at this point.
Yeah,
I feel
It's a
like at this
draft.
point,
There's no
I'm
choice.
cool with it.
well, it's a draft, but like we're also trying to be like realistic with. It's
Yeah.
a realistic draft,
I like how I
like
was
with NRG.
yeah. You know,
Because NRG obviously would have gone like Kenny or Hook or something, but they wouldn't have had the money for those guys. So I'll go with Krim. I don't know if that's that realistic, but you know, at this point we're being lenient. So LAG's up next, Rex. Who you got?
we'll roll with it.
So this is another one where we kind of want to just throw money at them. Who's the highest price paid player here? Probably.
I mean, you've got 2 ARs. You could get Slasher on LAG. He's currently there.
There's also Major Maniac.
Major Maniac.
Kind of
Sib,
want Major Maniac.
Accuracy. I think Slasher makes a lot of sense there.
I mean, I do need a leader.
And he's
but
currently on LAG. So if you're role playing, I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
I mean, I don't want to just pick what they have. Well, all right, fine. Whatever. Throw Slasher in there. We'll do Slasher.
I'm just saying, it just feels like a really good pick there. That's all I'm trying to say.
I'm just
Not
saying, because
trying.
I'm thinking of LAG as like they're a company that has tons of money, but they don't really know what's going on. They just throw money.
But
at
if you were the
things.
GM, who would you go with there? Like, who do you think would make the best team there? Because, I mean, at least, I'm not trying to influence you, but I would say Slasher does make the best team out of the guys who are left here.
I do need kind of like that leader guy. So yeah, I guess, I mean, Slasher out of the choices I got, I guess, yeah. I'm not opposed to Slasher. I was also
Be less
thinking Major
excited,
Maniac or
jeez.
Sib.
I'm not opposed.
No,
Yeah,
I mean, that makes sense.
We'll go with Slasher. I like the leadership thing.
Okay. Yeah. Alrighty, Sam, you're on the board.
Josh,
The
it's
London Royal
funny
Ravens.
how you mentioned that Weskins we'll get back to. But
You're going to snipe him?
I think Weskins makes perfect sense for this squad.
Oh, my.
You got a nice sniper, which I'm assuming sniping's going to be back in this
Let's hope so.
Let's
iteration of
hope.
Call of Duty. You got the European, pair him with the two nasty duos or the two nasty SMG duo. I think it makes sense, man.
Wow, dude.
So for the audio listeners, of course, I've got Afro and Kleenex as my two subs, and now I'm adding on Weskins for an AR.
Wow. Weskins gets back in the league, baby. Let's go.
Sure does.
Shout out Was.
I think
No.
he was robbed of a spot last year, but that's me.
Agreed. So, Rex, you can now finish out. Oh, no, I'm sorry. You can finish out your team here, Sam.
It is. It is my turn now. And I think I'm going to finish it out with Gizmo.
Oh.
Yeah.
And let him kind of flex.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to do. I think another AM on this team would bring a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to do.
Okay. Kind of figure out the flex situation between Weskin and Gizmo. Hope it's a 2AR type situation there. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. I can get behind that.
So yeah, final Raven roster is Afro, Kleenex, Weskins, and Gizmo.
Fair play. Rex, you're on the board. LAG.
All right.
Who's their roster right now?
I think so my roster right now, Asim, Abizi, Slasher. So for the fourth pick with LAG, I'm going to go with Major Maniac.
Ooh, let him flex?
Yep. Going to throw him out there as my
Interesting.
flex guy. I think, I considered taking an amateur player, but I think LAG doesn't really have tendencies that lean that direction.
A lot of the flex is flown off the board here.
If we're going to get star-studded roster, I think this is as close as we're going to get.
Interesting. Okay. I like it. So what's your final squad?
So my final squad is Asim, Abizi, Slasher, and Major Maniac.
Okay. All right. I can get behind that squad. All right. Paris Legion are up next. And again, we are a pick behind here. So the teams, NRG and Paris get short end of the stick here because they're Paris Energy. And so they get picks at the end as well. So, I mean, I don't know how this would work with Krim, but it's the highest upside flex left. And Krim, at the end of the day, he wants to win, so he's gonna try to make it work. And he's gonna get a young player to learn the game. He's gonna keep him in check, like Bill Belichick. He's gonna keep him in check, baby. We're gonna bring Sib onto this roster. So with Hydra, Krim, and Sib, and now suddenly the Paris Legion have a roster that they can work with and make an impact here. So I'll be looking for an SMG here probably with their final pick of the draft. But that's a pretty nice little core three there as long as Sib and Krim don't kill each other. So I'm liking that team a lot.
Interesting. I was going to say that's going to be some personalities on that team.
Yeah, exactly.
Holy cow.
Exactly. So, all right, Sam, you got Atlanta FaZe up next with their final pick.
I think this could be interesting. I'll probably get roasted for this.
Ooh.
but oh gosh, I don't
You're looking
know.
for an SMG here.
Yep. I'm thinking John.
Oh, Homer pick.
Okay. I was also thinking about Pristini though too.
John?
Oh, Pristini could make sense.
I know.
Get that EU history there.
I'll do Pristini. That I think Pristini makes more sense.
It probably makes more sense with the squad that's currently on this team.
Yes, it does.
Because you've got the EU history with both Simp and Arcides, and it's his twin.
Exactly.
So like, I mean, if he's there, Arcides is given a spot to his brother.
And the Pristini will just play dirty. Simp gets all the kills.
Yeah, it's a BZ. Yeah, exactly.
Makes sense.
I think that's a solid team there.
Yeah. So final phase squad is going to be Simp, Arcides, Awakening, and Pristini.
Cool.
Which is kind of fun. But
That's a fun team.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. All right, Rex, you're on the board here with your New York Subliners, their final pick.
So, New York Subliners, Clayster, Shotzi, Illy. I have a fourth pick. Now, this is going to have to be an amateur player. It's only what makes sense. We always want to take in new amateurs who have that hunger and drive and are amazing. So, some of these top names.
Are you looking for a flex or are you looking for a SMG?
I'm probably looking for an SMG.
Oh, this could be nasty then. That'd be a fun
makes
pick there.
a lot of sense.
I mean,
But Saints is a veteran though.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about Saints.
Nasty, man. That's a fun one.
What
The next Hydra.
What? And then Mohawks and AR, right?
Yeah, you can flex.
So yeah, so I guess based off that, I think I am going to take Nasty. Yep.
Yeah, that's a fun pick. That's high upside. You pair him with Clay, just like the Subliners with Hydra. You've already got Shotzi and Illy. That's at least a really fun team there.
Like a
That's a
team
fun
that
team.
could do damage.
Yeah. I like the upside there. So your final roster?
Clayster, Shotzi, Illy, and Nasty.
Okay. All right. That's a fun team, man. The Seattle Search are on the board now. And for you YouTube listeners, we've got, and for your idol listeners out there, we're rocking Mac, Celium, and Neptune so far on the team. And I could go a few different ways with this. I mean, again, Mac can either run SMG or flex. So I could, in theory, go AR here or SMG here and like boot Celium to like a main AR, which he definitely could do. Worst case scenario. But Paul X is a very interesting pick to pair with these guys. Paul, I feel like Paul and Celium could make a lot of sense together. Either they'd like hate each other or this would go really, really well. And then you've got Paul, Mac, Cell, and Neptune as a team of 4 of just young gun skill guys, just can win gunfights. And you see how that team plays together. I think it's a really cool team, a combo of 4. And you rock with that, with those guys on the squad. I am very much in for something like that. That's what I was looking for, you YouTube folk. I'm hyped about that squad. So Sam, you're on the board here. LAD's final pick.
This is interesting.
Oh, it's time.
Are you thinking John on here?
I mean, I don't know, John T. Are you looking for an SMG or a flex though?
Well, see, that's the thing is, I kind of want Draza to be the SMG duo with Envoy.
But you could go either way.
Yeah, which makes me think I might be picking up an AM here.
As a flex or
second AR maybe.
Second flex / second AR.
Yeah. Ugh. Man.
My first instinct was either like Temp, Tej, or John, but Temp could make sense.
Diamond Con makes some sense too.
If Diamond, I mean, we haven't really seen Diamond be a true flex. He's mostly been an AR in his career, but
I could bank on the 2 AR meta, honestly.
Yeah, it'd be kind of tough, but it could work.
It could work. Let's do Diamond Con. I've got faith in him.
Wow. Okay.
I want to do a heavy 2 AR.
You believe
meta.
Diamond Con can either maybe flex or just bank on the 2 AR meta again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
In a season long where metas could change is a dangerous roster because if
It
Diamond
is.
you're looking for a potential roster change in the making there if metas go the wrong way for you.
True.
But hey, I like the play. It's a high upside play if you hit the right metas.
Mm-hmm.
So all right, Diamond Con, Octane, Envoy, and Draza. You nearly got the perfect quad squad of 4 there.
Almost.
Nearly. All right, Rex, you're on the board here with the Mutineers. What are you thinking here? What are your thoughts with this weird recipe you're building here?
So right now we have my mainstay AR, Skies. I have Zero, who's kind of the glue for this team. Can either flex or sub, Priesta, flex or sub.
So you're probably looking for a sub here.
Probably. Part of me wants to back. I want to take Saints, but there's another part of me where I really want to take a chance on a younger guy.
You get the other foreigner on the team with Pred. That could be fun.
It's too many different countries happening at once. I think I would probably take a player like, let's say, like a Vortex, probably. Right? Is he a sub? Yeah.
Vortex. Very fun. Yeah, I mean, if you want to take Vortex, you can fire away with that.
I think I'm going to take a Vortex. I think adding this amateur spice, that's to my Mutineers team, please.
Oh, yep, my bad.
Amateur spice to this roster is going to give these people just, it adds a little bit more like passion environment.
It's quite the team there.
With the glue we have, I think we got Skies, Zero, Priesta, and Vortex.
It's got to be the weirdest squad so far.
It's weird, but that's what was needed to switch things up because Mutineers has always been like, we're good, but we just can't get to this. Like now it's like, okay, we need something happening here. And I think
now
this is that something
awful.
happening. Nah, you telling me this is going to be an awful team. They're not being a bottom team. No chance.
Yeah, well, yeah, no. I mean, it's just a weird squad. There's disaster that could happen. But
the weird squad,
it could be a very consistent
have to switch
squad.
it up because we're sticking too hard into what we have.
That's fair. So I'm looking for maybe a flex here with the rocker. So I've got Standy, Insight, Attach, and then hopefully a flex. I think my 2 guys I really would be looking at here would be Temp or Scraps. And maybe you just pull Scraps here. You got, Scraps with Insight, and then you just kind of rock with that squad of 4. And
That's
you do
not bad.
Scraps, Insight, Standy, and Attach, and kind of build that team. I think that's a pretty fun team there. It meshes well. It's a good vibe squad. They're all happy-go-lucky guys. And you got the leadership from Attach and the veteranship of Scraps with the young guns who are both beasts in Insight and Standy. That team's winning COD champs, baby. Let's go.
Wow, that's a bull.
Easy.
That's a hot take.
I don't think you have any good solidified glue happening with that. But
What? That is the glue of glue.
Nah.
That's the vibiest team we have so far. But except for, well,
questionable.
I think FaZe is the vibiest team.
Awakening's an X factor, though, Because, I mean, you don't really know how he could. This team's getting along. That's facts. All these guys are totally getting along. That's good times.
True. Yeah.
All right. Well, NRG's on the board here. They got Gunless and Vivid. Again, they get one more pick here. Then they get the bottom feeders.
Yeah. I do think TJ makes sense here.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you pair him with Vivid as the SMG duo. You've got your Flex and Gunless. And then you just take a good solid mini AR.
And Gunless and Tej play together. Yeah.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
All right. I like it.
Yep.
Rex, you're up here to cap off your Ultra squad.
Which is Kenny, Cammy, and Bance. So I can really choose an AR or a sub.
Yep.
So what do I want to do? Who do we have left on the board that is enticing? I mean, Saints is enticing. There is an opportunity where I can take a risk on another Challengers player.
You could go Harry. He's a main AR.
I think I am going to want to go with an EU.
Because right now you got 2 EU and you got Kenny. So you got two
Kenny would
2v1.
be so out of place there.
I
if
mean,
he
that's what I'm
chooses it.
saying. So I'm trying to figure out the mathematics on that and what I can do chemistry wise.
Accuracy?
No, that's not a gap bridge or bridge gap.
Unless, I mean, if you want Kenny to run a main sub with Bance.
There's the idea of Aqua running around in my head.
Yeah, I mean, that's possible. You just go temp. You go temp and Kenny. That could be a wild one. You bring Classic back, and now Classic's rocking with Cammy again. It's a reunion of Cammy, Bance, and Classic. Or you just go Pred, and you just say, bring in the Aussie. And then here we are.
Here's the thing. I mean, we can talk about Pred real quick.
I think Pred
just don't
deserves a chance
understand.
here. You should pick Pred.
But I just don't understand why. Because, I mean, nothing against like the Australian scene, but it's a traditionally way weaker scene, and they've really
but
not
he
been so great.
dominated
Why are we picking
last
one
year
player out
also.
of here in the easiest league?
Because he's undoubtedly the best player, and he literally dominated, like not even close. And we've seen him do very well on land too.
But yeah,
like
but he's
even-
dominating against in like the quote unquote like easier
No, but even in the
league.
kickoff event of Modern Warfare, they were top 6 as a squad, and he was undoubtedly their best player at that event. So like we've seen him on land play at the kickoff event in Modern Warfare.
I'd have to watch him again. But I mean, if he's the real deal, yeah, I guess I could throw Pred on there. But I just don't
Literally-
I think I need to throw another NA guy. I need another NA guy on the squad.
Yeah, it's just tough to see who has the upside of like, to mesh with upside plus meshing with Bance and Cammy.
Mm-hmm.
I think Pred could get along with Kenny. Because
Give me
otherwise,
Aqua. Give me Aqua. I'll take Aqua.
Wow.
okay, so Kenny's gonna be running a main SMG then with Bance.
Yep. This is Aqua's
Okay.
time to really start shining.
I mean,
this
they
is
can
like
vibe.
Aqua is the guy to prove something here, and he can do it. And I'll put him in main AR.
Man, I want to pick Pred for this OpTic Dallas team because I think Pred is undoubtedly the most deserving player here. Like, he deserves a chance in the CDL. So if he doesn't get picked, then he's either going to Paris or NRG, which they'll be hyped about getting him.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I'm looking for a flex because I want Hook and Scump to run my main subs, and I'm looking for a flex, which means Temp is probably my best bet here, unless I'm looking at the AM scene. But Temp could work with, obviously, Temp and Hook, that duo. So I guess that's what we're going to go with. So we're going to go with Temp and Hook, bringing that duo back with Temp, Hook, Dashy, and Scump. That's a pretty fun team. That
Not
could
bad.
definitely work and has some upside as well going into a Vanguard game. And that's a pretty solid team there for OpTic Dallas to put together, especially when you compare it to all the other teams. Again, this is a draft, so it's realistically you shouldn't expect any like undoubtedly best team considering we're drafting like this. So
I mean, I'll be
Mhm.
honest. I kind of feel like I should have put Temp on the Ultra.
yeah,
I think there's
that
there's a
duo
Kenny,
ship would have made a lot of sense.
I think there's a Kenny Temp thing that could happen.
But then it's like, then who's running the main AR? I think that's overall a
Kenny-
solid vibe.
Kenny would do AR
Yeah,
because it
Yeah.
still seems like I
Kenny
thought
would rather
Aqua could-
flex though.
I thought Aqua could be my like kind
No,
of like
I think that
creating that, but
a
I don't
good
know.
glue.
Like,
that makes sense.
but are Aqua and Kenny like? Do they like? Is there going to be a chemistry there at all? Like, I kind of feel like it might not have the chemistry that I want it to.
I mean, no, I think that could work. I think that could work.
Yeah, I mean, it could. We'll see.
That's solid. Sam, all right, you got energy on the board here. Who's your squad right now?
I've got Vivid, Gunless, and TJ. So I'm looking for a hard main AR.
Oh,
Oh,
Not
okay.
gonna be-
Well, I mean, a soft main AR is fine too, I suppose. I'll take whatever I can get at this point.
Children listen to this show. I hope you know.
oh, I mean, it happens.
It happens. So
Who's the hard main AR you're looking for here?
yeah, so a couple of guys that come to my mind is accuracy. I'm thinking of God or Axe even.
Oh,
Kind of
interesting. That would be
Um,
very interesting.
Mohawk
Yeah.
for an AM pick.
Ooh,
If they're
Very
kind of thinking about budget.
yeah.
Parasite.
Parasite is an interesting pick.
Parasite and Slash would be fun. Or Parasite
Parasite
and Gunless would be
deserves
very
it.
fun.
This Parasite.
I feel
They
like
were me.
accuracy with Tiege, I feel like that just kind of makes sense.
I know it does. And as I voice cracked twice there, I'm going to go accuracy to finish out my energy roster. So
Man.
That's a solid squad. That's a very solid squad.
Yeah, definitely a bottom 4 squad. Probably.
Really? I mean,
I mean compared to.
I don't think it's a bottom. I think it's a dark horse squad.
Well, bottom one's Florida, and then you've got. Oh yeah, so like maybe okay, yeah.
I think there'll be a lot of fighting.
It's just
within
very
that team.
reaction there.
It's very reminiscent of like an LAG old roster, you know.
I think that's actually a pretty solid squad, to be honest. That's a pretty
It's
good
not
one.
bad.
No, that's pretty good. I like that team.
Yeah.
When it comes to a draft like this, I mean, that's a really nice team to come with. Like with the chemistry of all of them and the upside still with like Vivid, and I think that's a really solid squad. Okay, well, Pred's going to Paris. That's a lock here.
It makes sense.
That makes so much sense. Pred, dude, this is a lit team.
Kind of
This
is.
One of the best teams we have.
It probably is. Truth be told.
It could be.
Hydra, Crim, Sib, and Pred. And we even have Sib and Pred who are teaming on the Surge this year working together. And then you have Hydra and Crim who are teaming on New York together. You got two duos coming together here. This team's fire.
This team could
40,
be top
fire
4,
40.
maybe. Top 4.
Possibly. It really depends on how, what the amateurs, when they reveal their cards, how good they are.
That's a COD Champs winning team right there. I think I
All 4
drafted.
teams are
I think
winning
all 4 of
champs.
mine are winning champs. To be honest,
Dude, no, you got some
All right,
mental game stuff
let's
that's not working
rank our
out.
top 3 of these teams. You can only let's try to be unbiased. All right, let's try to rank our top 3 favorite teams here. And then I want the comments down below. Everybody listen to the pod to rank them as well.
NYSL has got to be one of them.
Shotzi, Clay, Illy, Nasty. It's a pretty fun team. I like that one a lot.
I think you got to have FaZe up there just because of the Simp and Arcides duo.
Yeah, and I think
You
you've got
have
to
to.
have Bears up there.
Here's the thing with the FaZe squad. The Awakening thing, I just don't know how it's going to mesh into things. Like, yes, it's kind of like star-studded. Like, they can make amazing plays, but I don't know. There might be some level of selfishness involved with
Yeah,
Awakening and all that.
we might be sleeping on the LAG roster though. Abizi, just having Abizi there with, then you have Slasher. I mean, Major Maniac on a flex can still work, but it's not like as high upside maybe as you'd like versus like FaZe. But overall, that's really solid.
It is just crazy though, like how kind of well balanced, obviously it's gonna
Very
happen.
balanced rosters with the
Yeah.
draft.
I think you're.
But a lot
I
of
think
them make sense.
the Paris squad has potential to be great, but it's I think it's kind of question marky in the sense of like,
Oh, it's very question marky, but it's talented.
they'll either be
It's
great or
talented.
they're not going to like show. It's
Or
going
they're
to be
gonna
more
implode.
internal issues. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Rocker squad will be really safe and balanced. Which team do you have the most confidence wins chance? Let's just give our best pick. You can't pick your own.
Most confident to win champs.
Yeah, that's not your own team that you drafted. Out of the other 6 that are out of the other 8, I think I would go with New York.
I'd go with New York. Most confident.
Yeah. Rex, who
I-
would you choose?
Probably FaZe.
Okay.
Maybe Paris. Like Paris, I want to say Paris. I like it.
I mean, that's a
lot,
fun squad.
but
It's like a
it's too many
super, like-
variables.
yeah, it's like a radioactive like bomb. It's like you just like don't know if it's gonna go off or not.
Personally, I think the Surge team might be the most fun, weird team we have. I love that team.
They have potential, dark horse potential.
Mac, Celium, Neptune, and Paul. That is an
That's-
awesome team.
Well, I'm
That-
thinking.
I
Here's the
would
thing, I can
love
imagine
to see that.
That's such a weird team.
I can imagine Mac, Paul, and even a little bit of Neptune, but Celium
Yeah.
in there is so just like, whoa. Why do they have a god
dude.
here? Like they just
That's
have like
so
a
good.
legitimate like Zeus is just come
That
down
is
to be
so
part of this
great.
team.
Oh
Dude,
man,
Cell-
I
how good are
freaking
they
love
now?
that team.
With
Cell
Cell
would be
added adds up a
bugging.
lot of points.
Cell would be bugging the crap out of Paul X. You just know it.
It'd be so good. I love that. The NRG team is sneaky. I actually think that's a sneaky team. I mean, the
Yeah.
LA Thieves team is going to be very good.
Yeah.
But the Diamond Con's risky. It gets
That's
me
risky.
nervous.
That's the one. Yep.
If Diamond
It's
Con was
risky.
just like a more safe player,
Mhm.
then I would be more on board with it. If it was just temp, like if that was temp, like a much safer player who's a traditional flex, then I'd be like, that team could win champs easily.
Yeah.
The Dallas team is also high upside, but I think it has a lot of the potential issues of an average OpTic squad.
It
with
looks like
fighters.
average optic squad to me.
That could implode and like have a lot of problems with fundamentals.
It feels like Optic needs somebody who can just like control
Be the anchor for him.
them. And I think that's what Crimsix sort of did in his day.
Yeah, for sure. So that was fun. I mean, it ended up being a really long segment, but
Yeah.
I kind of lost track of time. I was having a good time. So without further ado, I guess we can go into intelligent or irrelevant and see how dumb the people are this week. Let's go.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent.
Intelligent or irrelevant time. Sammy, what do you got this week, baby?
Truth be told, it's a true false. So there's only two options here.
Ooh, okay.
Two options here. I thought this would be an interesting one. I'm not sure. This could either be like really lopsided or it could be really close.
Nice. Cool.
So, you know, there pretty much only two options. But here we go.
yeah.
This one had a lot, 281 votes, by the way. True or false? The new LAT roster will be more successful than the Optic roster.
Juicy.
And when I say Optic, I mean the
Dallas Optic.
no, the old Optic roster.
Wait, did you specify that?
I did. I put in parentheses Octane, Kenny, Draws, Envoy for LAT, and then Formal Scump, Dashi, Envoy. for
Hold
Optic.
on. What's the question again?
The true or false? The new LAT roster will be more successful than the old Optic roster.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Okay.
I would say this is guaranteed true. It's 82%. Rex, prediction.
So the old Optic roster. Okay.
Yeah. So
I
you're
mean,
kind of
I
comparing
would
across.
say-
People are down bad on that.
I would say the new
comparing Octane.
LA Thieves would probably be better.
Okay. Well, I'll pick false to see what it says.
Okay.
69% say true.
Ah, nice.
But
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's honestly less than I thought. I thought it'd be over 70. So,
yeah. So couple of comments here. H Hefner 13 says, I think after the Envoy drama, LA Thieves might have the right culture to have a better place in the season.
Yep.
Wolfie Slap says, I just really don't have faith with Draza on an entry sub. Interesting.
okay. I mean, there are questions with how Draza, we just don't know how Draza and Envoy will play together. And so it's like, I do think that people are like locking that in a little bit too much. Like,
Well, Draws is going to be flexing.
well, no. So based off of right now, they think Kenny will be flexing.
Oh, I'm an idiot. I thought for some reason I was thinking Hoop was on.
Oh, yeah. But so that would be kind of the thing right now. But that's the biggest question mark for me is like, I mean, it should work, but will it work? You know, that's what gets.
I mean,
It's just tough.
Draza thrives when he's a flex. In my opinion, I kind of agree. Like, I think Draza's great at both roles. He can do both,
Right. He
but
can do good as well, but
he's good at flexing. Like,
right.
I wouldn't want to like take him away from what he's super good at.
Yeah. Wait, are there any other comments, Sam?
that was pretty much the gist of it.
The
One guy
best
kind of
ones? Okay. All right.
one guy kind of
Summed it up
me.
well.
Classic.
I didn't want to read his
Wait,
comment.
Sam, where are you
but
on with it? Would you say LAT will be better?
I don't know,
like, what?
honestly.
Optic were a top 3 team at their best. At their
Mhm.
worst, they were 5th-ish,
Yeah.
maybe 6th, you could say. But
Yeah.
they were
at
always.
their best. I mean, they were a top 4 team at one
That's
point.
why I said at their best, they were top 3. And
Oh,
then
okay.
they, at their worst, they were
Mhm.
top 6.
Yeah,
Team.
I would say Kenny's a question mark. I do have a lot of faith in Draza and Envoy. Maybe Envoy will
But
have a better
Envoy
culture
and
on him.
Draza, like that's what's the question mark is how do they play with each other and off each other.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
so there
So-
are some question marks. I think people are just locking in a little bit too much that they're going to be like top 3.
Oh,
you
for
know?
sure. But like, I definitely see like where this team could not click at all. You know.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And they'll have games where they out talent people and they're really, really good. Like
Mhm.
I don't see this team being less than top 6. Like they're going to be very, very solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like it's going to be tough for them to get over that. Like we are an elite top 3 team consistently. I don't know if I see that in them, but we'll see. So
Yeah.
there's the pod, boys. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. We do have a little bit of breaking news. Pred did just tweet, it's official. What? As we are recording. So it sounds like, you know, him to Surge makes a lot of sense. just off of the, all the rumors. Sounds like that's happening. So
Yeah, do we want to go through what the
there.
rosters are looking like right now?
I mean, we're probably past that point at this point in the pod.
All
I
right.
mean, yeah.
Old news, bro.
Old news. Everyone knows. If you're wondering what the current roster situation is, I tier listed all of the rosters a few days ago on the channel, so go check that video out. But
No free shadows.
hope you guys enjoyed this one. I mean, we always appreciate your guys' support, the comments, the likes, the reviews, everything else. So if you guys enjoyed it, like, comment, subscribe, share it if you guys really enjoyed it. Drop that comment down below. The 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We always appreciate that. But as always, guys, I'm Josh. SalvationsElite to my right is Bastion3. To my right was Rex, Shady Nero. And guys, we will see you next time. We out.